looking for a rod finish that you can find locally, you can try this white Gorilla Glue. It's not the clear that I showed you for doing rod wraps. It's the same type of polyurethane glue as the brown color glue that they sell, but they have a white formula and it's more of a clear finish. And this is borrowing a page out of the Bamboo Rod Makers playbook. Those guys have been using the regular polyurethane glue, the Gorilla Glue, in the brown color for a while. And I believe the gentleman that came up with that idea spread it via the internet, and it's a pretty popular finish now for Bamboo Rod Makers. The white Gorilla Glue will work well for fiberglass and graphite rods. The key is to put it on extremely thin. If you don't, it's going to foam up on you and make a mess. If you get it on really thin and think of it more as like a wipe-on stain that you don't want to leave any excess behind with, if you think of it more in those terms, it'll work out better for you. And you can apply it with a piece of cloth. This is a piece of an old t-shirt. And you just want to put a few drops on here occasionally. Like I'm going to show you here. I'm just going to put a drop right there. And then I'm just going to work this into the rod blank. Very thin, extremely thin. So thin it's barely even on there. Because if you don't, it's going to foam up on you. And I sanded this blank down in this area. And I'm going to wipe some over the guide wrap also. I sanded the epoxy on that a little bit as well. And I'm just going to wipe this on here extremely thin. And you can build this up in layers, but you have to let it cure before you come back and add another layer, depending on how much depth you want to it. And I'm barely getting any on the rod, and I know this is going to be hard to show on video. And I'm going to apply another drop and come back in and wipe it on extremely thin also. If you don't get it on thin, you're going to regret it. I can promise you that. If you get it on thin, this stuff makes a really hard, durable coating. And as far as I know, there aren't any UV inhibitors in the Gorilla polyurethane glues. So that could be a problem over time. But if you do run into a problem with it, it's real easy just to come in and put a coat on top of what you've already put down. They'll blend together really well and you won't have any problems with it. And as far as I know, people really haven't had any trouble using this stuff as rod finish. I haven't used it enough to know for myself what I think about it as far as UV use goes, but I do know it makes a really nice coat and it dries really fast. It's very durable. So that's the pluses to it. If there is a UV problem with it, that would be a negative. I haven't seen it yet, but that doesn't mean it might not cause a problem at some point. But this is something you might want to keep in mind if you're looking for a rod finish locally. I have used a product called Bullard CP Extra, and I've used that as a rod finish with really good results. The problem with that stuff is that it is very toxic. The fumes on it are terrible, and you need to do it outdoors in a well-ventilated area. And also, you can't just run out to the store and buy that stuff either, unless you happen to live somewhere where they have a rod building shop close by that's local to you. You might be able to find it then. There's another product that is called Permagloss, and it's a similar type of a product to the Bullards. And those things, you need a well-ventilated area to use them in. They're not easy to find locally for most people. And the finish on it is also going to be a urethane finish, so it's going to be really durable. But I don't know if it has any kind of UV inhibitors in it either. I don't know that for sure. So this is something you might want to keep in mind. You can pick this stuff up. It's cheap. If you do run into a problem and you need to come back and redo it at some point, it's not going to be an issue because it blends well together. And I'm going to probably just have to take some pictures of what this looks like It's just almost like a wipe-on stain, like I mentioned before. Very, very thin coat. If you get it on any thicker than that, you're going to run into a problem with it foaming on you, and you don't want that, because then you're going to have a mess on your hands, because once this stuff is on, it's very difficult to get off without sanding it back off. But it dries really hard, it's really clear, and it gives a nice sheen to the rod blank as well. It's not extremely high gloss, but it's a fairly glossy finish. And you can build up coats to get a deeper glossy finish. This is with a single coat, and I'll just take some pictures of this and show it to you. I think that will show up better than what I can show here on this video, but I'll show you what it looks like, and you can see what you think. I don't think this would be a bad product to keep in your rod building kit, especially if you're doing a repair for somebody and they just have a scratched up blank or something. You can wipe some of this on there and wipe it on really thin, and you'll get a nice durable finish that will last quite a while for you. It dries really fast. It'll be dry to the touch here within an hour or so, and it's already pretty dry. Just rubbing the cloth across it, I can tell, in just that short a period of time. So it sets up really quick. It looks good, and it's really tough too. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you tried it yourself, do you like it? I like it. I think it's a good product that puts on a good finish, and it doesn't cost a whole lot. If you're building rods professionally, I'd probably stick to something like Permagloss or the Bullard CP Extra or something along those lines. That's what that stuff's made for. You know you're not going to have any issues with it down the road. But for those of us who are hobby builders, do some restoration work for friends and things, this will give you an option of something you can use for a rod blank finish. Or just, if you're like me, I go to a lot of flea markets, and I like the old rods. I like the old fiberglass rods and things like that, and I like to rebuild them. So this gives me an option to use as a finish on my blanks as well, and it's really inexpensive. There's no fumes to worry about. You can work with it inside your house without worrying about killing yourself. So I think it's a good product, and I hope y'all check it out. Leave me some comments below about what you think about this, and if you try it yourself, be sure to let us know. You can always reach me at thefishinghobby@gmail.com. If you have any questions about anything, I'll be happy to help you there. I prefer to get most of the questions in the comment section of the videos if possible. But if it's something more in depth that you need to send pictures or something like that, you can feel free to email me. And if you look down in the description, there'll be links to my Facebook page and my Instagram account also. I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all take care.